welcome to the Dominate the Diamond Show. I'm Steve Nickerack here at Zone Sports Academy, and I look forward to, again, our weekend recap. The questions, the comments. Please be sure to check in on the side and let us know where you're coaching, what age you're coaching. But you guys always drive the content. You guys drive the discussions and everything that we're going to cover from week to week. So look forward to another awesome week. As you can tell, it's just me today. Coach Duke's away on family vacation, so I'll be here to answer as much as possible. Probably have about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, because I got to hop right back into our tryouts here for our Zone Redhawks teams. I had a good weekend with our guys. Coaching our 16U team. We have 2 events left over the next 7 to 10 days, and we get a little bit of a break before the fall season. But again, guys, be sure to leave a comment on the side where you're coaching, what age you're coaching, and again, any questions or comments you might have for me. And we got 35 people on right now, and hopefully we'll get up a little bit more, and you guys got a lot of questions for me. But I guess we'll start off. My guys this weekend, we've had an up and down summer so far. We've played some really good baseball. We've struggled at times, and a lot of the times my message to them is the same thing. It's about their attitude, it's about their effort, and it's about never wasting an opportunity to play. So whenever you're on the field, we always have an opportunity to prove something. They're getting to the age now where colleges are starting to come watch them play. Guys are out there seeing you got radar guns behind home plate, and they're kind of under a magnifying glass. So it's making sure that every time we show up to the field, we look the part, we act the part. We have good energy, we have good body language. So a lot of the times my message is the same. And I noticed that we were getting a little flat over the last, couple of days. And, for some reason it just came to me one day, and I decided to nominate a new player before each game to give our pregame speech. I felt like, they kept hearing a similar message from me from game to game. So I nominated one player to give our speech for our Friday night game. And I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know what he was going to say. I didn't know how good it was going to be. And I was really, really impressed. He actually came, he took some time, he thought about it, and he came fired up for our pregame speech, and got all the boys jacked up. We ended up playing a great game, and right after the game, I selected 2 more for our doubleheader the next day. I had one player do our Saturday morning speech, and then one player do our Saturday evening speech. And it's pretty cool because you get to get them out of their comfort zone a little bit. They're not used to giving speeches. They're only sophomores in high school. They're not used to maybe trying to motivate the team, and I select a new person each game, and it worked out. It was kind of just a last-second idea that I thought of, and I wanted to change up the energy a bit, and it was something that was pretty cool. And the guys loved it, and we're getting ready to play again on Friday, Saturday, Sunday this week. So we'll have three more nominees for our pregame pump-up talk, but it's cool. And if you guys get a chance to do that, similar to how we nominate a captain for the day at our younger ages, where that player leads the stretch, maybe leads the throwing program, it's something very similar to that, just a little bit different, to where when we get in the huddle before the game, I'll say, all right, what are your words of wisdom for today? And, see what they come up with. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's great, and it's something that I think you guys can all take home with you and maybe try out at your games, but pretty cool. Waiting on some comments here. Joey Bass, he's always here. What's up, Joey? I saw, real quick before I get to your question, congrats. I saw your post on Facebook of the big championship. The kids look great. You guys look like you had a blast, man. That was pretty cool. Joey Bass says, going into 9 where they're starting to pitch with open bases, leadoffs, and stealing, what would your progression of teaching be? It's a ton to learn. I don't want to overload them, but we need to be prepared, so I'm just curious of your approach. That's a great question, and that's actually a young age, because here in New Jersey, we start doing that at 11 and 12, but, I think it's all really important. If I were gonna do a progression, I think I take the entire team down the line. I treat the foul line almost like it's first base, and I teach everybody how to lead. I talk about the proper progression of, I got to pick up my third base coach. I got to get my sign. I start with both heels on the bag. I step off, I cross over, and I get 2 shuffles off the base. When you're teaching those leads, I think it's important that everybody's lead's going to be a bit different. And I tell my kids, we want to get as far off as we can so that it's 1 step and a dive back into the base. And the reason I like doing it all at once is because they're all starting from the foul line. They get out to their lead, And we'll have a coach pretending to be a pitcher out there. And when he picks off, everybody has to step and dive back into the line. So one, they're diving on grass. It's a little bit easier. And two, where they stop, it's funny because some kids will dive back and they'll be 2 feet past the foul line, which means they can get out 2 feet more. Some kids, they'll dive back and won't even get close to the line. So it's a good gauge of where they need to get to on their leads. But I think you'll see, especially first time kids taking leads, they're going to be nervous. They don't want to get picked off. So I think it's practicing that and letting them know it might be a step, a turn, 2 small shuffles. It might be a step, a turn, and 2 big shuffles, but everybody's lead is going to be slightly different based on their athleticism and their size. From there, talk about steal breaks. Talk about what they're going to look for. That you can still do it in that same line. So have a pitcher out there working on the mound. I always like to have our focal point be the heels. So the heels of the pitcher, right? A lot of times pitchers like to look, or runners like to look up top at the runner, but we really want to try to focus on their heels. So if I see their back heel move, I know they're picking off. If I see their front heel move, I know they're working a home plate. I think that's something you should probably do in every practice, leading into your season. I'm thinking you guys are probably going to start with that in the fall. So probably only got a couple weeks of practice. And then your pickoffs, open bases, pickoffs. I mean, there's so much that has to be covered. First and third defense is probably going to change a bit. Pickoffs, I like to take my pitchers and do it the same exact way. I think at that age, keep it real simple. You might have 3 different moves. You might have your A move, which is your best move, and I'll demonstrate that real quick. So let's say my A move as a right-handed pitcher is going to be quick feet and a quick throw. So I come set, my feet are going to be quick, and my throw is going to be quick, okay? My B move might be quick feet and an easy throw, or slow feet and an easy throw, but it's not my best move, so it might just be one of those, okay? And then let's say pickoff number C is going to be a 3-second hold and either pitch, or a 3-second hold and step off. All right, so I come set, it'll be 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and I might just step off. But I think the key at that age is to keep it real simple. All right, we don't want to overcomplicate and put on too many pick plays, but we also want to allow them to have different moves, because most kids, they come set, they hold for 1 Mississippi, and then deliver the pitch. But I think all that stuff needs to be covered, man. Unfortunately, you probably don't have a lot of time. I would do the base running, I would do the leading and the stealing every single day, make sure they're getting their signs, make sure they're taking the correct lead. And then pickoffs, if everybody pitches, which I'm sure a lot of your guys pitch at 9U, I would have everybody do it together, right? We're going to work on 3 different moves: A move, B move, C move. And our catchers, whenever we're doing a pickoff, it's usually just a thumb like this. That's just the pickoff sign to first. So maybe it's just a thumb and a 1 is the best move, a thumb and a 2 is the B move, and a thumb and a 3 is the 3-second hold and pick, or 3-second hold and pitch. But hopefully that helps. I know you're always on here and you see a bunch of our stuff. So I have some base running circuits that we've put on there. We've posted some base running circuits, some first and third circuits. Hopefully you have access to all that stuff and you can get ready to roll before the fall season. Let's see. Coach Miguel, besides a fastball at 9 and 10 years old, what pitch would you consider okay to throw? Coach Miguel, great question. I think at 9 and 10 years old, I think, a 4-seam fastball, a 2-seam fastball, and a changeup is plenty, right? We don't want our guys throwing curveballs or throwing sliders, especially at that age, because they fall in love with it. Their arms aren't fully developed. They're not strong enough, to uphold throwing 30, 40 curveballs throughout a game. So I think a 4-seam fastball, a 2-seam fastball, and a changeup is perfect. And it's important that your players, when they're out there, they practice throwing their changeup in their throwing program, right? So when they go out and they're playing catch in pregame, 99% of fielders, they throw 4-seam when they're playing catch, right? So I'm backing up, I'm long tossing with my 4-seam grip. So when I throw my changeup, all I'm going to do is replace my 2 fingers that are on the 4 seams there, replace them with my middle finger and my ring finger, and I'm going to throw my 4-seam changeup just like that. But I'm actually going to air it out and I'm going to throw it hard. They're going to get a better feel for it. They're going to understand, grip pressure, release point. Everything's going to be very similar to that 4-seam fastball, but they're getting used to throwing it. I think the problem you see at the younger ages is they they throw a changeup and they try to slow the ball down as opposed to just letting the grip do it, right? When I'm holding this changeup, I'm really just gripping the ball with these two outside fingers. These top fingers are just kind of laying on the top, but I'm holding it a little bit deeper in my hand. Grip pressure is a little bit tighter than I would on my four-seam fastball, but I want to throw it. I want to throw it just like my fastball. The grip is what's going to slow the pitch down. So it's a great question. I think too often I go out to 9 and 10-year-old games and there's a lot of breaking balls being thrown. And I think if they can throw a good changeup, one, it's gonna throw off the hitters because of the speed difference, but two, it looks just like a fastball coming in. I know as a hitter, I played third base. I struggled with changeups because they looked exactly the same as a fastball coming in. So great question. I hope a lot of the coaches get to see that. Coach Rob, how do you get your good but lazy players to see the value in practicing all the little things that matter? Man, that is a really, really good question. And, I'll use my brother Mike as an example. He was never a lazy player at all, right? But he was always the best player. He was bigger and stronger and faster than everybody. And one thing I always said to him growing up was, you're right here and everybody else is here. They're trying to close that gap. They're trying to catch you. They're trying to be as good as you. So you have an opportunity. We can be content with being the best 12-year-old baseball player on the field right now, or we can continue to push and continue to work and do all those little things that matter. So now we continue to separate ourselves. So it doesn't matter how hard this guy works. He's never going to catch you because you're going to outwork everybody around you. And I think that's what happens, especially at the younger ages. You see kids that are studs in Little League, 11, 12, even 13 years old because they're bigger. Their body developed quicker, they're stronger, they throw the ball harder, and they get content. And they're just okay with everybody telling them how good they are, and they get lazy and they don't want to focus on all the little things. And before you know it, that undersized kid that didn't hit puberty yet, that's not matured, ends up working way harder, and they're doing the extra work, they're doing all the little things that matter, and before you know it, that gap starts to close. And then they get to high school, and that kid that was really good, they're like, man, he was a really good Little League player, but then never really panned out. Well, 9 times out of 10, it's because of work ethic. And again, I use my brother as a reference there just because I used that example with him. He wasn't lazy at all, and he ended up getting drafted in the first round and playing pro ball for 7 years. So that's just a message I used to send to him all the time about the importance of outworking everyone around you. Our goal is not to be the best player at 12U, 13U. Our goal is not to be the best player in our high school, right? We want to be the best player in our area and our state. And everybody's got different goals and aspirations, but we've got to try to separate that gap, especially if you're here. And if you're on the flip side, well, we got to just work that much harder to try to catch the players that are up top. But great question. I think a lot of coaches go through that.
Coach Steve, question
yes.
From Instagram from Royal 6 Baseball. What do you suggest for infielders to perfect the throwing motion and increase their throwing strength?
Coach, I think that's a great question there. I think a lot of it comes down to footwork. We actually had our tryout last night for our 10s. We had 12s and 11s the days before. And the one constant comment that I was leaving is, has solid arm strength, makes accurate throws, but needs to improve footwork. And I think, when I'm talking footwork, I'm talking about trying to create some momentum going towards first base. I think a lot of players, they go to field ground balls and they stop their feet, they field it, then they stand up and try to get going again. So, one thing I always do is I'll set a ball up. I can use a line, I'll use 3 cones, but I emphasize the left foot timing. And what that means is every time I'm approaching a ground ball, you'll hear coaches yell, charge it a lot. But what I talk about is timing that ball up so it's hitting my glove as my left foot hits the ground. So that ball's hitting my glove right now. That movement right there of that left foot timing, I'm kind of rolling into my left toe as that ball's hitting my glove, and now my feet continue to move. If it's just basic arm strength, I think it's tough to answer without actually seeing the player throw. But a lot of times infielders, they tend to get long with their arm. Some players drop down in here. So we've got some really good connection ball drills that we do. We'll actually put a connection ball up in their arm, and we talk about the power V. So the power V, it would be from my wrist to my elbow to my shoulder, making sure that I stay short and quick with my arm action. I think that's important, but 99% of the time when I see flaws from infielders in regards to their throws, it starts with their feet. It's making sure they're in a good, strong base. It's making sure they have good left foot timing and they create momentum towards their target. So, any sort of pick progressions you can do, whether it's the 3-cone drill, it's the line drill, or even just that left foot timing drill, I love it. Coach, that's a really good question there. And we're also offering a 3-day free trial for our membership, where you'll have access to everything, our Turn 2 course, our corner infield course, basically everything we have in terms of content. There's over 900 videos in there and a whole lot of infield content. Be sure to check it out. Thank you. Let's see, Coach Josh, Minnesota 9U rookie coach. Throughout the season, I've been following along and watching your videos. Wow, they have really helped me from drills to parent relations, how to approach uniforms, all of it. I just want to say thank you for all that you do for the sport. Coach is looking to be better. We went 2-1 in our tournament, one terrible game, ended up 15-4 total on the year. Thanks again. Coach Josh, man, we appreciate the kind words. That's awesome. That's a great year. 15-4. I just, unfortunately, the 2-1 with one terrible game, that happens too often. My guys, we just got back from Georgia and we played awesome baseball with the exception of one game. And sometimes in those tournaments, you can't afford to have one bad game. But they're kids, and from the looks of it, you guys had an awesome season. So we appreciate the kind words, and that's why we do it. That's why we do it. So thank you. Let's see, Coach Drew. Seems like nowadays parents move their kids from team to team. What advice would you have for coaches on keeping a group of boys or girls together for more than just one season? Yeah, that's a good one, man, and that's a tough question. There are a lot of parents that I'll put it this way: the grass isn't always greener, but it looks greener at times. And we have kids that have jumped from organization to organization, and then come back. Some leave and don't come back. I think, at the end of the day, you just have to stick to what your goal is as a coach. And for us, it's development and it's creating relationships and not focused so much on wins and losses, but developing good young men and women and teaching them all the life lessons that the game has to offer. I think trust is really important. I think with my group, and I've been fortunate to coach the same group from 11U, now they're 16. We're getting ready for 17U in the fall. And we've had a few people leave. I'd say probably 90% of our team has stayed. And a lot of it comes down to trust and accountability. And, I make sure that I'm on time as a coach. I make sure that I'm prepared. I make sure that I have their best interest at heart. And you being on here, checking out our show, I'm sure you have very, very similar intentions, right? We're all trying to develop and get better from year to year. We can't control what other organizations do. There's going to be guys out there that try to pull players. There's going to be teams out there that promise you the world. And I think if you stay true to your guns and do what you promise, and you're on time, you have good intentions, you put the kids first, you're organized, you run effective practices, and you see that development from year to year. I think you're doing everything you possibly can. There's always going to be those kids that jump, and it's going to be out of your control. And for us, it's the most frustrating thing in the world because we put our heart and everything we've got into a team. And I'm a big believer that a true test of a coach is how many kids sign up to play next year. It's not necessarily how many championships or how many games you win, but it's how many kids from my team signed up to play with me again next year, right? That's because they respect me, they trust me, they love working with me. They're not going to remember the wins and losses. They might remember a championship, a big championship down the road, but 99% of the time, it's how you made them feel. It's the relationship you have with them, and a lot of it's outside of baseball, right? It's getting to know them as a person. It's getting to know their family, and it's one thing we pride ourselves on here at Zoned is a family-like atmosphere, and making sure that when people walk in the door, they feel like they're at home and they're not just another number, and they're not just somebody that's just rotating through our system. So, it's a really good question. I think. You can only control what you can control, and that's making sure that you're doing everything the right way, and you're developing as a coach just like you're trying to develop your players, and everything that you promise or everything that you speak of in your preseason meeting, you do your best to uphold it. And at the end of the day, some kids are just going to walk, and that's unfortunate, and we wish them the best of luck, and our doors are never closed. But my job is to take my 12 or 13 or 14 guys and do what I can to help them get to the next level. But very, very good question there. Appreciate that. Coach Miguel, Oh, I'm sorry, I missed Coach Chris up top. Starting an academy in Eastern Kentucky. We'll have teams associated with from 7 to 12U. Any advice? That's a good one, Coach. You know what? We have teams right now from 10U through 18U, and Coach Duke Baxter started this place back in 2001, and it took us a long time before we ever even had teams. So I think one of the biggest keys is making sure that your facility's packed as much as possible, and that's creating camps and creating classes and position-specific classes and smaller groups and maybe private instruction and lessons, to keep that place packed as much as possible. I think that's key to keeping your facility running. With the addition of our teams, it's been a huge piece to us here at Zone, and making sure that when we hold tryouts, we do them the right way, and we invite everybody, and we have our entire staff at the tryouts, and we run a very well-run tryout to where everybody that comes, they get a full detailed evaluation when they leave. We offer sit-down evaluations with the kids that don't make our team, because for the 175 players that play for our organization, there's double and sometimes triple that number that actually try out for us, right? And we don't want to just say, all right, you got cut and you're gone. We want to offer them a blueprint to hopefully make the team the next season, right? Or hopefully make the team that they go try out for next. It all starts with your coaches. It starts with the people that you surround yourself with, and making sure that everybody has the same goals and same intentions. And those kids want to, when they get in the car, our goal is when that player leaves and they get in the car, they can't wait to come back and work with that coach again, right? So your coaches have to be approachable. They have to be able to work with all levels of talent, from a 7-year-old that's never played before to a high school or a college player that is the best in their area. So you have to be able to wear multiple hats. You have to be able to run a summer camp or a rookie camp, and then at the same time go do a hitting lesson with a high school or college kid. There's a lot that goes into it, and I could probably talk for hours on this, but I think it starts with your staff. Surround yourself with good people. Do whatever you got to do to fill your facility, right? Get creative with creating summer camps and classes and position-specific classes. And then when it comes to your tryouts and picking your teams, do right by the people that don't always make the team, right? Because a lot of the times those players will respect that, and they'll end up working with you on the side as well. They'll come into your facility for lessons and classes, and when you can provide them with a roadmap of how to get better, as opposed to just an email saying you're cut, I think there's a good chance you might retain that player. Let's see, Coach Miguel up top. I've always taught full arm separation when throwing to the whole team. Separate and then have them shoulder the ball behind them, then throw. Should that be taught only for outfield? Should that not be taught? Should we teach infield players how to separate in a shorter motion with palms down? Coach, that's a really good one. You know what? At the younger ages, so many kids play all over the field. So I think what you're doing is correct, right? We do want to create a full separation when we throw. As they get older, our infielders always do throw from a smaller arm slot. The challenge is sometimes they pitch and they play shortstop. Other players play the outfield. They play short, they catch, they pitch. They play all over the place. So, a longer arm slot I think is more geared towards your pitchers and your outfielders. Your infielders, it's going to be a little bit smaller. So it's, from the side, it's almost going to look like the letter C. My outfielders are going to have that big C when they throw, that big long separation. My infielders, it's going to be a little bit more in here. Sometimes I'll use the term like a bow and arrow, right? So I field that ball, I get it to the center of my body, and I bring it back this way, but it's still that C when I go to throw. We don't want that big long arm action. Posture is always important too, so you'll see infielders, sometimes they have to drop down and throw low. Right? It's not that we're teaching them to throw sidearm, but a lot of times my posture, and what I mean by that is my chest, right? If I'm up tall when I go to throw, it's over the top. But when I throw a little bit sidearm, it might just be my body tilting over this way. So I'm actually throwing almost uphill. It's still over the top, but my body just is tilted over to the right. So, I would lean more towards outfielders and pitchers. The infielders, we do want to shorten up that arm action a bit. Another great thing I heard was, pretend you're standing in a pool. So you're standing in a pool of water, maybe up to your belly. So as an infielder, when we go to throw, we want to bring that ball back and be able to throw from a short arm action. We don't want to get long and touch the water. So if I'm standing in a pool up to my waist or a little bit higher and I feel that ground ball, I don't want to touch the water there. I want to bring it straight back to that position with a little bit shorter of an arm action. Coach Alfonso, Riverside, California, 8U and 12U rec. What did you learn from your first year of coaching? What fond memories do you have from then? First year coaching. You know, I have a pretty cool story about how I met Duke and how I started here at Zone. So I actually started training here with Coach Duke back in 2004 when I was playing. I loved the facility, I loved the people, and I really never left. Once I left to go back to college, I would always work here in the winters. I was always trying to make some extra money. I enjoyed coaching. From there, once I got drafted, I worked here every off season, and I'd work here 7 days a week as much as I could. You know, I love the relationships. I love meeting the kids and, you know, seeing their progression from week to week. My first team that I coached was actually a 13U team, so there was a lot to learn. It was their first year on the big field. Obviously, cuts and relays and bunt coverages and stealing and pickoffs, all the stuff that Joey Bass mentioned before gets magnified when you move up to that big field. And that was a challenge. You know what? But the relationships, I mean, those kids are now playing in college, which makes me feel a little bit older. But, you know, I still talk to them. I still stay in touch with them. Some of those kids are now actually coaching our younger groups. They came back after college in the off season in the summer to coach. So I think it's definitely the relationships. I remember winning a big championship at the end of the year. We went out to Buffalo Wild Wings after, and that was a blast. But you know what? All of it was enjoyable. I love it. I fell in love with coaching right away, and I knew as soon as my playing days were over, that was going to be it. That's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to be at a facility. I wanted to be around Coach Duke and the guys, and I loved it here. So, you know, I think it was a little bit of everything. It was the relationships. It was seeing their development. The one thing I always did as a younger coach that I try to stop, or at least keep myself from doing now, is I always wanted to help so much that sometimes I would flood the player with information, right? You know, I'd just come off of playing. I had learned from some of the best coaches in the world, and I wanted to just help. And when in reality, as I got a little bit older, I realized, man, I was given way too much information. Like, there's no way that kid could process all of that at once. So I try to, you know, go step by step now. I'm not going to try to fix everything all at once. I'm going to start with baby steps, and, you know, maybe today we're just going to focus on lower half at the plate. And once that's fixed, we're going to move on to their load and their separation, and then progressively move along instead of, you know, trying to do everything all at once, because it can definitely get overwhelming for the player. So that would be my one criticism of me early on, but, you know, I loved it. I love coaching. I love being out on the field. I love getting to do both, to where I'm in here actually training the players and then also get to see them perform out on the field, and I follow them during their high school seasons. I get out and coach them all summer. It's just a blast. I'm sure for the same reason you guys are all coaching, that's why I got into it. So, good question. Coach Ryan Conrad's always on here. What's up, man? Running clinics in Augusta, Maine, using all your drills, and a lot of my team is attending. What do you do to keep kids motivated in the off season so they're not killing the sport they love? Really good one there. You know, we have a lot of kids that play multiple sports. So, you know, what I'll do is I always tell our guys go do both. I played baseball, basketball, and football in high school. My younger brother did the same. I know Duke played 3 sports growing up. You know, I tell those kids to go be athletes, because there's certain things that they're going to learn from other sports that they could never learn in baseball, right? They might play football and they're going to learn about toughness and about grit and about, you know, going out and practicing for 4 hours on a Tuesday morning, start at 6 a.m. in August when it's 100 degrees. You know, those are things that baseball can't teach us. You know, how to be part of a team. Basketball is going to teach them speed and agility and quickness, and, you know, again, being coached by someone else, and being around different athletes and different players. It's just going to help their overall athleticism. So I'm a big believer in being a multi-sport athlete as long as you possibly can. You know, and then one thing I always like to do in my end of the season meetings is, again, just similar to my answer to the question before, I try to give them almost an evaluation sheet on what they did well, what they need to work on this off season, and, you know, some of the reasons why I love coaching them. So, you know, I'll say, you know, let's say you did a great job on the mound this year. You attacked with your fastball. You only had X amount of walks. You pitched big for us in a lot of big games, but we need to develop your changeup, right? So I'll always start with the good things, and I always try to finish with, let's focus on this offseason. It doesn't mean you have to go outside and throw, 4 bullpens a week in the offseason. It just means that we got to come up with a game plan to develop your changeup and the grip and how to throw it and maybe not slowing down. Same thing with hitters, right? You don't have to be in the cage 5 days a week in the middle of football and basketball season, but we do have to find a way to maybe hit twice a week. Use your bow net at home, get outside, give them some drills to do. And then I'm a big believer in an accountability partner. I ran the New York City Marathon a few years in a row, and I hated running, but it was just a goal that I wanted to do. So my accountability partner was my calendar on the wall. So I pinned it up on the wall and I wrote down exactly what I was supposed to run that day. If I did, I highlighted it and it was good. If I skipped a day, it stayed blank. And I hated looking at that wall and seeing a day that was not highlighted. It was my accountability partner. So what I do for these kids is, in their evaluation at the end of the season, I'll say, send me a picture of your calendar. If you're telling me you're going to hit 2 times a week, well, show me. You're going to hit on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I want to see, weekly progress. Show me a text or a picture of you checking it off or highlighting it, and let me know that you're actually getting your work in. And that alone will, having to send me the picture and also having to highlight it and look at it on their wall every day, I think that alone is going to motivate them to make sure they get their work in. So, really good question. Definitely proponent of multi-sport athletes, but also we got to find a way. It doesn't have to be crazy, but we have to find a way to get our work in and get ready for next season. Coach Evan Lee, 10U assistant coach, finished with our tournaments this past weekend. This question is more about behavior aspect. How do you feel when your head coach is yelling and shouting at the kids, and how does this affect the kids' performance on the field? I can see the kids being afraid of their coaches and trying hard not to make mistakes. Us coaches want them to understand we are not yelling at them in a bad way, but it seems to make them perform poorly. What are some of the things to help keep them focused? Much appreciated. Coach, I'm a very vocal coach myself. I know Coach Duke is also. So I think it's important, at the start of the season to let your guys know, look, I'm gonna be loud, right? I'm gonna coach, and there's gonna be times where I'm yelling. It doesn't mean I'm yelling at you, but I have to be vocal. If I'm in the dugout and I'm trying to set up a defensive change or put a play on, I'm going to be vocal because I have energy. And I was a football player, Duke was a football player. There's certain coaches that are vocal. It doesn't mean we don't like you. It doesn't mean we're yelling at you, but we just talk loudly and letting them know that it's a game of failure. You're gonna fail, right? I don't ever yell at my kids for making an error. If a kid makes an error at shortstop, I know he feels horrible already. I played shortstop and third. I made more errors than I can count. The last thing I needed was a coach or a parent screaming at me from the side telling me that I need to make the play. I know I need to make the play, right? So that alone might get a kid, to walk on eggshells a little bit. I've had a college kid come back to me and say that his college coach did that. So I think it's important that, we let the kids know ahead of time, I'm vocal. I'm going to be loud. It doesn't mean I'm yelling at you or I'm mad at you. Sometimes I just have to be loud to get over the noise of the stands and the noise of the other team. But also try your best to understand that players react differently to different styles of coaching. Some kids need to be pushed. There's times where my catcher gets lazy and I have to yell at him to work a little bit harder, right? We got to block that baseball right there. That can't get by. There's other kids that need to be coddled a little bit, and you can't really get on them because it's going to just flip a switch in their head and everything's just going to fold. So I think as you get to know your team a little bit more, you'll know what kids can be pushed and what kids can't. There's certain kids that, I won't yell out onto the field because their dad's already screaming at them and they don't need to hear both of us, but I might get on them when they get into the dugout, and I might do it quietly, and we'll sit in the dugout, and it might be an attitude or a poor body language or maybe a mental error, but I make sure that as soon as that inning's over, I don't care if they're the best player on the team, that they need to hear that, and they need to know that, what they did wasn't okay. So mental errors, I will get on right away. Physical errors, sometimes it's just a pat on the butt. Hey, so what? You're going to get the next one, right? And I think letting your teammates or their teammates know that it's also their job to pick them up. And I've said this before, but if I'm playing shortstop and I make an error, my second base my second baseman's job is to look at me right away, get my eye contact, and say, hey, so what? I'll pick you up right here. Let's turn it. Or you got the next play, right? They need that push from their teammates because, again, you're out there, you feel like you're on an island, right? If you're pitching and you're struggling, well, that shortstop or third baseman or one of those infielders better get to the mound and say, hey, we got you right here. Pitch to contact. We'll make a play for you, just to let them know that the team's behind them. But really good question. It's something that, I see a lot. There's times where I get on a kid and I feel like they're playing nervous, and I'll just reassure them in between innings. I don't care if you make an error. I don't care if you strike out or you walk a guy, but let's make aggressive mistakes, right? Let's play fearless. You're going to fail enough as it is in this game. There's no reason to be out there trying not to strike out or trying not to walk a guy or please don't hit the ball to me, which we've all been there before on defense where you feel like you can't field a ground ball. It was funny because I saw I'm sure some of you guys have seen it, the Captain Derek Jeter documentary. He made like 56 or 57 errors in rookie ball. And this was a first-round draft pick out on the field for the first time in his life saying, please don't hit the ball to me. So we all go through it at all levels, right? I mean, you got an 8-year-old standing out there, makes 2 errors. He doesn't need his mom, his dad, his coaches, and everybody screaming at him, right? I'm sure the kid feels horrible enough as it is. And then to hear somebody like Derek Jeter go through it, we all go through it. That's baseball. That's softball. You're going to fail. You're going to make errors. You're going to look stupid at times. But we have to pump them up with the confidence that it's okay, right? We've got your back. So what? Get the next play. Let's flush it. Let's move on. But really good question there. I think a lot of us coaches go through it because, we're not in control. We just want to help. And sometimes we're vocal, and sometimes kids, they fold under that kind of noise or that kind of pressure. So I think it's talking to them early, letting them know that you've got their back, and letting them know that you're going to be vocal, and it doesn't mean that you dislike them or you like yelling at them.
Coach Steve, question from Instagram from Ruben Caramillo. What do I need to know to take the Dominate the Diamond courses?
Coach, you don't need to know anything, man. I think we'll put all our links here in the comment section. But I think it's important that if you want to develop as a coach and you want to maybe level up your skills on everything. It could be infield play, it could be hitting, it could be pitching, it could be catching, it could be overall team management, running effective practices. You don't need to know anything. We actually had a coach yesterday reach out to us via email that has never coached before. He was a first-time coach, and he got access to our membership. And basically, you are the exact person why we created Dominate the Diamond, because there's a lot of moms and dads out there that might not know anything about baseball or softball, and their son or daughter walks up to them and says, hey, can you coach my t-ball team? You don't need to know anything, right? Our job as coaches and Dominate the Diamond is to equip you with everything you could possibly need, from running an effective practice to handling player-parent issues to position-specific development, in-game management. Everything you could possibly need is inside of our Dominate the Diamond courses. And if you're a first-time coach that has never done it, check out our free trial. Our free trial, you'll have access to everything. Over 900 videos. There's probably over 30 practice plans in there, field utilization charts, what to say in pregame and postgame speeches. It's basically A to Z, everything you need to know to take on the title of coach for that season. Obviously, it's going to take some work on your part because you're going to have to watch some videos and take some notes and plan out your practices. But we try our best to equip you guys with everything you might need. And be sure to shoot us an email or question at any time if you're struggling with something. That's why we come on here and do our weekly lives, because there's a lot of coaches that do have specific questions to their team, and we'd love to help. But we appreciate that comment. Thank you. What Joey Bass? Oh, Joey Bass put the target up top. Coach Ryan, do you guys run your own tournaments for 10U? Would love to bring my team down next year, see things to compare, and also meet you guys. You know what, Ryan? We have run our own events in the past. We've run a 4th of July tournament in the past. We've run our own college showcase camps. We haven't done it in a while. You know what? It's something that we'd love to do. Maybe we'll meet you in the middle and we'll play somewhere. I think you're up in Maine. I'm almost positive you're in Maine. But we'd love to meet you too. And I know you asked last week about the coaches clinics. we got to get that on the calendar as well. You know, especially at 10U, we do a lot of stuff in state. I know those guys like to go down to Ripken and Aberdeen, Maryland. That's always a fun trip for them, especially at that younger age. But we actually just had our tryouts for our 10U team last night for our fall season. The fall goes so quick, so you know we stay pretty local in the fall. But next summer, you know, we'll do a little bit of traveling. But it'd be awesome to see you guys out there. Duke was actually down in Georgia coaching our 16U team and ran into one of our coaches that follows Dominate the Diamond. He said it was awesome. The guy came to watch his game, and he got to meet him afterwards. It was pretty cool. So that would be a blast. I'd love to meet you. Coach Evan. Let's see. 10U travel team. We have a hard time getting runners on third base stealing home when our pitcher throws wild and the catcher can't get to home plate on time. How can we work on this? You know, Coach, I think it's making sure that you try to set up a base running circuit in practice to simulate those situations. I think kids get nervous sometimes and they're hesitant and they react to the play. So, you know, as a coach, I always will be in my third base runner's ear on third base, and I'll say, you know, we have to anticipate ball in the dirt right here. I'll do the same thing with runners on second. You know, we're taking our secondary lead anticipating that it's going to be a pass ball, and then we're going to react when it's not, right? Because if you sit there and you're flat-footed and you take your secondary lead, the ball kicks away. By the time it hits the backstop, if you haven't moved, there's no way we're going to be safe. So it's getting out to a good primary lead. It's practicing that secondary, but always anticipating this ball is getting by the catcher, especially in two-strike counts where the pitcher might be throwing an off-speed pitch. But simulate it in practice. You know, have your catchers back there, gear them up, have a coach stand on the mound and work on your primary and secondary leads from third, and have the coach. Sometimes he's going to spike sometimes he'll airmail them, sometimes he'll throw one right down the middle, and when that catcher sticks it, we got to get our secondary and get right back to the bag. But I think that's just something you can work on right in practice. When does the Big Diamond course come out? Coach Rob, Big Diamond course. If you could just, I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Maybe the transition to the big field. That might be what you're talking about. Moving up to the 60-90 field. If you could just confirm. We put a few different links in there for you. So obviously our baseball coach training, our main website. We put in all of our free resources for you coaches out there to go on and check out our free resources. There are plenty of things in there that you guys might get great use out of. We put the link to our membership where we're running our 3-day free trial right now, and then also our 2022 Coaches Clinic, which was here at Zone. So Coach Ryan, I know you mentioned you know, a Coaches Clinic. We've done virtual ones, and I know we did a big virtual one during COVID. We did another Coaches Clinic this past year, and it was awesome. So if any of you guys are interested in actually watching our hands-on clinic, we put the link right there in the chat. But all right, guys, I think that's all we got. I got to head out to tryouts. We've got our 12U tryouts tonight, getting ready to roll. I think we've got over 50 kids coming, so should be a blast. Again, guys, thank you so much for the questions. If you get on here a little bit late, be sure to leave any questions or comments in the chat, and we'll be sure to cover them next week. But you guys always drive the content. Wish you guys the best of luck this weekend if you guys are finishing up. And let's get ready to roll for fall ball. As always, dominate the diamond. Thank you, guys.